The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
There was a man named Lazarus who lived in the village of Bethany with the two sisters, Mary and Martha, and he was ill. It was the same Mary, the sister of the sick man Lazarus, who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair. The sisters sent this message to Jesus: Lord, the man you love is ill. On receiving the message, Jesus said, this sickness will end not in death, but in God's glory. And through it, the Son of God will be glorified. Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Yet when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed where he was for 2 more days before saying to the disciples, let us go to Judea. The disciples said, Rabbi, it is not long since the Jews wanted to stone you. Are you going back again? Jesus replied, are there not 12 hours in the day? A man can walk in the daytime without stumbling, because he has the light of this world to see by. But if he walks at night, he stumbles, because there is no light to guide him. He said that and then added, our friend Lazarus is resting. I am going to wake him. The disciples said to him, Lord, if he is able to rest, he's sure to get better. The phrase Jesus used referred to the death of Lazarus, but they thought that by rest he meant sleep. So Jesus put it plainly, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I'm glad I was not there, because now you will believe. But let us go to him. Then Thomas, known as the twin, said to the other disciples, let us go to and die with him. On arriving, Jesus found that Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days already. Bethany is only about 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to sympathize with them over their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus had come, she went to meet him. Mary remained sitting in the house. Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, whatever you ask of God, he will grant you. Your brother, said Jesus to her, will rise again. Martha said, I know he will rise again at the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. If anyone believes in me, even though he dies, he will live. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she said. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, the one who was to come into this world. When she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in a low voice, the Master's here, and wants to see you." Hearing this, Mary got up quickly and went to him. Jesus had not yet come into the village. He was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were in the house sympathizing with Martha, with Mary, saw her get up quickly and go out, they followed her, thinking that she was going to the tomb to weep there. Mary went to Jesus, and as soon as she saw him, she threw herself at his feet, saying, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." At the sight of her tears and those of the Jews who followed her, Jesus said in great distress, with a sigh that came straight from the heart, "Where have you put him?" They said, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. And the Jews said, "See how much he loves him." But there were some who remarked, "He opened the eyes of the blind man. Could he not have prevented this man's death?" Still sighing, Jesus reached the tomb. It was a cave with a stone to close the opening. Jesus said, "Take the stone away." Martha said to him, "Lord, by now he will smell. This is the fourth day." Jesus replied, "Have I not told you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you for hearing my prayer. I knew indeed that you always hear me, but I speak for the sake of those who stand around me, so that they may believe it was you who sent me." When he said this, he cried in a loud voice, "Lazarus, here, come out." The dead man came out, his feet and hands bound with bands of stuff, and a cloth round his face. Jesus said to him, "Unbind him, let him go free." Many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what he did believed in him. My sisters and brothers, the gospel, the good news of the Lord.
Praise to the Lord Jesus Christ.
My sisters and brothers, I think it's fair to say that we live in a very production-oriented world. But production in the sense of what can be quantified. What or who does not produce is discarded and left to die. This culture is so pervasive that it affects all segments of society. Not only are individuals written off by society, but people write themselves off as well. In the academic world, there's a saying, publish or die. It does not matter if one is a brilliant professor. One's worth is decided on the number of articles or books produced. Even in our spiritual lives, we tend to try and accumulate credits with God. Say, I did this, I did that, etc. Today, the gospel reading shows us another way of being. It is a story of love and the transformation that love can bring about in our lives and the lives of others. A message is sent to Jesus. Lord, the man you love is ill. Jesus dawdles a bit, but when he finally arrives, we are told in verse 35, Jesus wept. And the Jews, seeing his emotion, said, see how much he loves him. It was this love that led Jesus to the tomb. And it was this love that causes Jesus to put his faith in the power of God's love for him. A love that would not let him down. Jesus calls Lazarus out of death, out of the tomb, and invites them to unbind Lazarus and let him go free. Lazarus symbolizes for us the many who have been written off and discarded by others, and even themselves, as the dead are discarded because they no longer produce, or perhaps do not produce, what the society considers important. We lock them up in tombs and leave them there. How many villages in our countryside that once existed exist no more? And how many of them are neglected and dying? And how many live again because of persons or groups who loved enough to challenge them to come out of the tomb in which they were and encourage them to live creative lives again. And how many of our young people from all over the country live creatively, perhaps because of persons and institutions who encourage them. Love and the power of belief in people transform. At the same time that Jesus' love for Lazarus impels him to go to bring Lazarus out of the tomb, there's another subplot being worked out. The disciples tell Jesus, Rabbi, it is not long since the Jews wanted to stone you. Are you going back again? But when Jesus insists on going back to the very place where the Jews wanted to stone him, the disciples say, let us go too and die with him. Because the disciples were willing to risk their lives with Jesus, they witnessed the transformation that love can bring about. In Trinidad and Tobago, there's a little village, the north coast, is where the road ends. After that, there's just tracks and forest. And there's a village there at the end of the road. A village which was dying. A religious sister went to this village and brought it back to life. But she did it through bringing a band of young people with her to teach in the school. And because of that, that village lives again. And people no longer leave it. They continue living there. Why? Because of the love of that religious sister and the band of young people who went with her on a great experiment. It's a great sign of love to bring that village back to life again. And isn't that the witness also of many young Americans? Young people in the Peace Corps who go to third world countries and work to bring life back to people who have been discarded. And my brothers and sisters, those who knew me as a young, shy, insecure, stammering priest can testify to the transforming power of the love of the Paraguayan people. The first mission I went to, and as I say all the time, it was the love of these people to whom I was sent, who loved me out of my stupidity and loved me into belief in myself. My sisters and brothers, there's good news in the readings for this weekend. And the gospel calls all of us to recognize the transforming power of love in our own lives and in the lives of people whom we know. And you, my dear brothers, do you recognize the transforming power of love in the residents, in the homes which we operate? It is only when we love them that we can transform them. And that is why our rules and constitutions say we have to treat our residents like brothers and sisters and parents. Because you love your brothers and sisters and parents. And it is your love for them which will bring about transformation. Let us thank God for those who never gave up on us. Because I'm certain that among us, there are brothers who thought themselves incapable of many things. But parents and teachers, in their love for us, convinced us that we were not useless. And it is our love for our residents which will tell them that they are not useless. You see, the gospel also calls us to recognize the many who are prisoners of lack of belief in themselves. Calls us to recognize the many who have been written off and who therefore we discard and abandon because they are not producing. When we believe in ourselves, we begin to produce. And perhaps, my brothers and sisters, there's someone close to us, a sister, a brother, a friend, who is waiting to be released from bondage through our love. They need us to convince them that they are not useless. At times, the journey, the effort may be long and tiring. Let us maintain our belief in the power of love, and let us maintain our faith in the potential for life that is in each one. Like the apostles who accompanied Jesus, let us accompany those who are engaged in the struggle of helping others to believe in themselves. If we are faithful, we may see the miracles that love can work. And my brothers and sisters, as we look at our own lives, and as we recognize those who loved us, let us thank Almighty God for them. And let us, because we have experienced the love of others, let us love ourselves so that our lives may be life-giving, especially for those who no longer believe and who think that they are useless. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.